Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalist Virtual Sunday Service. I'm Kathy Putnam, and I'm a member of the Worship Associates Ministry here at the church. I want to welcome each of you to our Sunday online service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you came to worship with us today, you are welcome here. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Come, let us worship together.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
Our opening words are adapted from Angela Herrera. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your powers to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it, here and now.
The first reading for today's service is the poem A Small Needful Fact by Ross Gay. This poem was written in 2014, shortly after a police officer on Staten Island, New York, killed Eric Garner with a chokehold. A small needful fact. A small needful fact is that Eric Garner worked for some time for the Parks and Rec Horticultural Department, which means, perhaps, that with his very large hands, perhaps in all likelihood, he put gently into the earth some plants which, most likely some of them, in all likelihood continue to grow, continue to do what such plants do, like house and feed small and necessary creatures, like being pleasant to touch and smell, like converting sunlight into food, like making it easier for us to breathe. The second reading for this morning's service is from the Hebrew prophet Isaiah, chapter 42. Thus says God, the Lord, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread out the earth and what comes from it, who gives breath to the people upon it and spirit to those who walk in it. Thus says God, I am the Lord, I have called you into righteousness. I have taken you by the hand and kept you. I have given you as a covenant to the people, a light to the nations, to open the eyes that are shuttered, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, and those who sit in darkness from their imprisonment. I am the Lord, that is my name. My glory I give to no other, nor praise to idols. See, the former things have come to pass, and new things I now declare. Before they spring forth, I tell them to you.
Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
I
Each week in our service, we hold a time for sharing the joys and the sorrows that we bring to this community. This past week, I only received one email asking me to place a stone for a joy. So just a reminder that if you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to be spoken during the service, you can email me anytime during the week or text and share with me your joy or your sorrow, and I will speak it on Sunday morning. As long as the email is to me, by the time I check email on Sunday morning, it can be included in the service. Stone that I was asked to place this week was asked to be placed by Kathy Hodges. Kathy writes, "Steve and I would like if you would place a stone of joy for Carter and Baptiste, who were married yesterday in Cambridge at First Parish UU. While only a few folks got to be there in person, technology made it possible for people to join on at least 2 continents." Kathy writes, "We are grateful for being able to share the day from afar and for everyone who helped to make it special for her." I will add a stone for everyone in our church who is taking action, and especially for the young people of our church who are organizing, who are letting their voices be heard, who are showing up in Raleigh and Durham and Chapel Hill and Pittsburgh and showing up online and showing up for their friends. It is inspiring and heartening. And a final stone is placed for all those joys and sorrows that we hold in our hearts that were not spoken this morning and are no less real. The prayer this morning was sent by the Poor People's Campaign. One of our young people, college student in our church, is doing an internship right now with the Poor People's Campaign. And what they sent is a prayer of litany for these times. Let's pray as we hear these words. We see the violence of injustice. We see the violence of racism against Black people, Latinos, First Nations, and people of color. We know this violence is a threat to all humanity and to this yet-to-be-perfect union. We hear the cries of the poor and low wealth in the land of abundance. We hear the fear of death among the uninsured and underinsured. We hear the groans of ecological devastation and environmental violence. We feel the violence of militarism all around. And we mourn the untold thousands who die every year from poverty, lack of health care, and pollution. These things suffocate the life out of a democracy. We join in the struggle of those hurting, and we commit every breath to work, march, fight, vote, and organize, in order that we may breathe life into the promises of what may be. Because we are yet alive and breathing, because we are yet free to stand up, we commit ourselves to this work with every breath we have. With every breath we have, we make this declaration to fast from apathy. With every breath we have, we declare, somebody's hurting our brothers and our sisters and our siblings. It's gone on far too long, and we will not be silent anymore. So may it be. Amen. In Minneapolis, a police officer kneeled on the neck of George Floyd, whose hands were cuffed behind his back. Police officer kneeled on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. George Floyd cried out that he could not breathe, and the officer continued to kneel on his neck. George Floyd cried out for mercy repeatedly, and the officer continued to kneel on his neck. George Floyd went unconscious due to the lack of oxygen, and the officer continued to kneel on his neck, asphyxiating him, killing him. America can't breathe. In the streets of our nation's capital and all across our country, militarized police fire canisters of tear gas into crowds. Under the Geneva Convention, the use of tear gas is banned in warfare, but it is employed here against protesters and marchers, causing their lungs to burn and causing them to choke and gasp for air. America can't breathe. America can't breathe. Through the years, many times in sermons I've shared the following etymology. The word for spirit in Greek, in Latin, and in Hebrew is the same as the word for breath. The Greek word pneuma, the Latin word espiritu, the Hebrew word ruach, they all mean spirit and they all mean breath. I'm not trying to be clever or cute with metaphor. All I'm saying is that if church is about spiritual things, if church is about things of the Spirit, it has to be about breath. And it has to be concerned with those who can't breathe. And it has to be concerned with those who are being prevented from breathing. Which is to say that the work of challenging racism in ourselves, in our institutions, in our community, in our nation is spiritual work. It's breath work. Which is to say that the work of ending white supremacy is spiritual work. It's breath work. Which is to say that the work of opposing knees on necks and chokeholds and tear gassing people in the streets, those things at minimum, the work of opposing those things is spiritual work. It is breath work, literally. Which is to say, as well, that the work of ending racial health disparities, for COVID-19 is a disease which attacks the lungs and disproportionately affects and disproportionately kills African Americans. Which is to say that the work of ending racial health disparities is spiritual work, is breath work. And the work of environmental witness to keep the air clean is spiritual work, is breath work. For air pollution is a form of environmental racism that disproportionately affects people of color. And so that is spiritual work and breath work. Pneuma, spirit, breath. Espiritu, spirit, breath. Ruach, spirit, breath. When I breathe in, just as long as I have breath, friends, in all truth, it is a struggle to find the words to speak in times like these. Just as it's hard to have found the words to speak following the murders at Mother Emanuel in Charleston, Just as it's hard to have found the words to speak following the murderous hatred in Charlottesville, it is hard to find the words to speak to mark the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. It's hard to find the words to speak to the depth of grief, the depth of pain, the depth of injustice, the depth of outrage. It's hard because words are inadequate. For these moments lay bare the undeniable truth that the systems of our society, the policing system, the legal system, the criminal justice system, the educational system, the healthcare system, the political system, the financial system. These moments lay bare the undeniable truth that all the systems of our society arose out of and were shaped by racism and were designed to perpetuate white supremacy. It is hard to think about how much work needs to be done, how much reconstruction there needs to be. And it's hard to think about how much work it takes to unlearn racism and unlearn white supremacy in myself. How much work it takes to commit to being a co-conspirator for justice. And it's hard to find the words to speak to events like these, because, to tell you the truth, nobody particularly needs to hear from me right now. This is a time when we are being told to listen more than speak and to amplify voices other than our own. When I listen to people of color who I know in my own life, what they have told me over and over again is that what happened to George Floyd or to Breonna Taylor or to Ahmaud Arbery could have happened to them, could have happened to anyone they know. My friend tells a story of his brother being roughed up by the police, roughed up so badly that he needed 3 reconstructive surgeries to put himself back together. Another friend tells the story of being routinely harassed and intimidated by the police as she was growing up. Another friend tells of being stalked on a public trail, of worrying in that time that he might wind up like Ahmaud Arbery, chased down and killed. A mother and a father tell me that they fear every time their African-American son leaves the house. They wonder if he will come back. A mother tells of the time the police were called on her African-American teenage son for playing in the front lawn. When we listen, we know that what happened in Minneapolis could happen anywhere. And so it is so important. It is so important to do this work, to weed out racism, to ensure that no more lives have to live in fear. My prayer is this: may the protests fully become an uprising, and may the uprising fully become a revolution. May the streets remain full of marchers and protesters and activists of all colors until real and lasting and systemic change is made. May each person and each organization saying that Black Lives Matter, each person and each organization issuing statements in this time condemning racism, may each person and each organization fully commit to dismantling systems of oppression and commit to doing the long-term work of creating real, structural, and systemic change. May those of us committed not get distracted. May we stay in the struggle, just as long as our heart beats, just as long as we have breath. And may each of us who can breathe be transformed by that pneuma, that ruach, that spirit, that breath. May we, to use the poetic imagery of Ross Gay, plant those seeds that grow into a plant that helps us all to breathe. May we, in the words of the prophet Isaiah, be given breath and spirit, so that former things may pass away and new things may live. This is my prayer for you. It is my prayer for myself. It is a prayer for all of us. Just as long as I have breath, just as long as we have breath, let us answer yes to truth, yes to justice, and yes to love. Amen.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
This morning's offering is generously given and gratefully received to support the programs and the ministries of the Community Church of Chapel Hill, Unitarian Universalist. I invite you to give out of a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for beautiful music, gratitude for young people answering the call with the fire of commitment, gratitude for justice ministries that feed, that house, that speak out, gratitude for friendship and learning and deepening, gratitude for community, and gratitude for all that is our lives. In order to give or to pay your pledge, you can use the giving portal below, an offering for the very good work of this church is generously given and gratefully received. The words by which we extinguish the chalice are these: we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Shalom.